What is up, everybody? Meriden Gaming here. We're back for another World of Tanks Sector Tank Showcase and Review. Today we're taking a look at the Tier 8 German heavy tank, the VK101P, or should I say, Super Heavy. That's right, this is the first available Super Heavy to you, at least for the tech tree tanks, of all the different nations, weighing in over 100 tons. I want to say it's close to 120. Yeah, this is a big boy. But as you can see here, it has a very similar uh, design to the mouse, which is what follows this two tiers later. A very flat side plate, very flat side plate on the turret, a very elongated turret, and this 45-degree angle armor here. But you can make it work. There are a few little weak points you have to watch out for, or watch for if you're facing it. Go ahead and take a look at the live view. That's right. Yep, the cheeks right here. Now, of course, I'm comparing it to the AE phase just because that's like my standard for everything, just so you can kind of get an idea of what you can face, what you can't. But yeah, you need at least 230 pin to go through, well, 231 pin to go through these reliably, but it's definitely doable. Especially against those tier 9s and tier 10s, you will have problems with those spots. The other weakness for sure, lower plate. A lot of tanks will be able to go through this, so you definitely have to make use of the rubble and whatnot, or other heavy tanks. That's right, you are tall enough to shoot over the top of quite a few of the other enemy tank or other allied tanks, like the IS-3 or the 112. You know, some of those shorter heavy tanks, the Skoda T-56, for example. So you can make use of them as your lower plate protection. Your other problem, of course, is the Cupola 220. This is what the majority of people are going to aim at, but there is this other spot here that a lot of people for some reason don't seem to realize is pinnable. I always see people going for the cupolas, not for the cheeks, but if you load gold in tier 8 and up, you should be able to go through those no problem. That being said, the proper way to play this tank is actually side scraping, preferably with a building on your right side. And what you got to do, because most people do not do this right, they stay aimed at you. What you do is you shoot, and then you turn your turret to that angle again, so you give the least amount of weak points for them to shoot. A lot of players will stay aimed at you, which is not what you want to do, because at that point, yeah, you can just shoot them in these cheeks here, because they never pull enough far enough forward. They pull to block here, to block their cupola, but they leave this cheek open for you to shoot. So definitely make use of that core armor angling. Let's go ahead and load up those heat rounds. So yeah, this is what you're going to be facing with gold rounds from those tier 9s and tier 10s. Yeah, you're a Swiss cheese. They can go to anywhere they want. So that is the one downside, because this thing is so slow that, yeah, you definitely have to pick your position well. And also that proper angling, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that. See? Now our weak points, especially if you have a building here, are all negated except for this tiny little sliver here, but most tanks can't slip a shell through there. Let's go ahead and get over the comparison. So, being the only true super heavy tech tree tank at this tier, I don't really have a great comparison, but we're going to go with the ones that have similar kind of armor profiles that will kind of give you an idea of how it stacks up against them. And of course, I always throw in the IS-3 if I don't have enough. I want at least 3 comparisons. So we're going to throw that in because it's got a similar kind of gun-ish, similar, yeah, you know what I mean. Alright, so DPM. Yeah, you're lower than just about everybody else. That's mainly due to your reload time. Your reload time is a little bit slow, but that's because you do have a higher alpha shot, or alpha per shot, compared to everyone else. 440 is respectable. There's some tier 10s that only have like, what, 490? So you're getting up into tier 10 categories of damage, especially even the medium tanks. You're definitely above the majority of the medium tanks at tier 10. Penetration of 220, so also very good for this tier, because there's a lot of tanks that only have, 230-ish on their gold rounds, and your standard rounds are 220. So this can kind of make you break even with your ammo if you pick your shots well. Your one downside, of course, is the shell velocity, though, because it is quite a bit slower than most of the other tanks here. But you do have 50 ammo capacity, so you can take a little bit of everything, including your gold rounds and your uh, HE rounds. HE rounds aren't great because of the 65 pin, but yeah, let's take a look at those gold rounds. Yeah, 260 pin. That is really good. Yeah, you can see this. A lot of these tanks, a lot of the enemy tanks are going to have 250-ish for their penetration. So at 500 meters, that means their pin is actually going to be lower than your standard rounds. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, definitely 260. And then the shell velocity picks up quite a bit, almost 200 points. To help you, I mean, this really isn't a sniper of a tank anyway, but it definitely helps with leading those shots. Let's go ahead and get down here to the gun handling stats. So yeah, 2.59, not great for sniping, but at close range, it works well enough. Right up there with the 53 TP, but definitely slower than the T32. And of course the IS-3, yeah, that thing is atrocious when it comes to aiming, but it does have slightly better what they call sigma, which is the how much it deviates from the center of the shot. So that kind of is misleading a little bit. All right, dispersion, 0.38. It's right in there with the rest of them, really. There's really not that much of a difference between 0.38 and 0.36. We could get that down if we wanted to by using improved aiming, but it's not that critical. Other stats, they're okay. They're not great. As you can see, these other ones are a little bit better at sniping. I mean, the American tanks are always better at sniping than most of the other heavy tanks anyway. But yeah, your gun is going to bloom, or your reticle is going to bloom out for sure, worse than everybody else here. Then we get down to our gun elevation, top out of everything. You can definitely shoot up at those enemy heavy tanks and other tanks trying to flank you from, say, if you happen to go beach on Overlord or something like that, you can still hit those tanks above you. Or if you're playing on, what is it, mines, you can shoot the tanks that are above you there as well, where some tanks can't. 8 degrees of gun depression, really good. Honestly, that is the line I draw of when a tank feels comfortable on a ridge line. It needs at least 8, so you can still play those ridge lines. You have to watch about overexposing that lower plate because you are kind of slow moving forwards and backwards, so you can overexpose yourself and get, really duped basically. Okay, so yeah, talking about speed, you are the slowest tank at this tier. I'm pretty sure. There might be one, but I doubt it. Yeah, 20 forward. Yeah, you're going to be needing a turbo on this thing for sure. Just because anything under like 25, it is painfully slow. Especially with if you're facing those tier 9s and tier 10s, you're going to have problems with them being able to track you multiple times and then finish you off before you can even get into position. Definitely take a turbo. Look at this, 40, 35, 38. They're all going to get there before you will. I mean, you might be going a little bit faster downhill, but that's about it. Engine power 1200, which it looks good until you realize how much this thing weighs. Yeah, that's right, 120 tons where compared to 57 and 50 here. So yeah, power to rate ratio, not great. That's one of the main reasons why this thing is so slow. Then also your relative speeds, because the power to weight ratio, yeah, not great at all. You're almost half what everyone else is. Armor now, this is where the thing I would say shines, but it's mainly due to the angles because it's got that kind of rounded front. It doesn't look great, but it actually will bounce a lot of shots for sure. Track armor is also pretty high because of those platings on the side, and they are larger tracks. Health, top here. This is definitely one of the top healths for any tech tree heavy tank at tier 8. And then, of course, next we get down to camo. Well, you're a giant, like, driving barn, effectively, or a large shed. So yeah, you have no camo. But because you are so tall, you have really good view range. 400. We can actually, and which is one of the things I would probably suggest, trying to get that view range up if you can, because especially towards the end of the game, you may be the one that ends up having to spot for your team. I've run into this with similar tanks quite often, especially in my Tiger 2. I usually last to the end of the game, and I'm having to spot out those mediums and TDs at the end. You have enough armor, you might actually be able to do it. Whereas Tiger 2, you have to be a lot more sneaky. Anyway, let's go ahead and get over to the gameplay. So we're going to be watching, I cannot read that. Presidentalo 10? I'm not sure. But anyway, we are going to be on Insk, and they're playing an encounter, so let's see how this goes. Using that new Christmas camo that we've earned. You get the Red Shire Cat. You can earn this after giving him a few resources. Now, I've not watched this, so we're kind of watching it live and seeing how this goes. It's a pretty standard play for the beginning. You could actually blind fire down those rails because you will most likely hit stuff. Yep, there he goes for the blind fire. No idea if that hit or anything. Most likely he's trying to get probably into E2, E3. That's a really good position. Or he could also try to side scrape down that one line as well. Because that would have the building on the correct side to protect his cupola. In fact, that definitely looks like what he's trying to do. There's one of those new BZs. That's going to be the first time we've seen one of these in one of the victory tank reviews. That thing is a beast. It has 220 on its gold rounds, but they're like, what, 800 alpha? Those things are scary if you're not prepared for them, for sure. Make a quick adjustment because I would like for the, yeah, there we go. So they've already taken out the IS and the Super Hellcat. Ooh, did that guy pay? Well, our friend didn't, but other two allies here did. Interesting that he could not put in IS-152. I'm almost wondering if he doesn't have the big gun. There he goes. Now he can. I don't know why he couldn't pin the first time. Must have been slightly angled. Actually, I would say he probably does not have the top gun here. He only did 290 alpha. Should have had 440. Problem is you can't tell when you're looking for replays. Ooh, Vipera. See, and see how he's angling his armor here? Try to get ricocheting shots. A very long reload. Ooh. Hit his track? Okay. Yes, that's what you gotta do with this thing. You gotta, and you see how he's angling his turret too. Until he's about ready to fire, then he will turn towards him. And boom. And he's hitting that lower plate really well. See, that's a very small target, especially with a heavy tank at that range. You can see he was turning his turret, like I said, at an angle to where he's gonna, if the enemy tried to shoot him, he would ricochet off. 1100 damage, 1200 blocks. That's what I'm talking about. This thing does have good armor if you know how to use it. Try to sneak it behind this IS-3. Using the bush to not get spotted. Don't know if you pinned that. 10 for 10. He is the only full health tank. Ooh, now they're down a tank. What are they gonna do here? Gotta get up here and help protect the King Tiger. Or the IS-3. Something's blocking. Oh, buildings. Didn't aim quite low enough. He hit the upper plate of the IS-3 there. Should have been loading gold because I believe the gold round would have gone through the upper plate. Okay, yep, see look, he's angling just right to where they're hitting his tracks rather than his actual armor. And finally someone hits his armor. There you go, now you got him. The gold round definitely helps. It's definitely one of those tanks where you really want to take quite a bit of gold just in case. And 1500, almost 2000 blocked. Trying to find a spot, there it is, right there. Nice little quick snap. 1000 damage. Oh, backs up again, you'll get him. Oh, hit Oh, went through that. There was a little bit of a wall still there, apparently. Because he has that APCR, he can go through that. Didn't have to worry about it like some of the tanks with the heat rounds. Well, down to 2 of them. Nice quick snapshot into him. See, that one had 445. I think he just really low rolled on that first shot against whatever that was. Yes, nice little shot through the wall there. Alright, so now they've even. Oh, I shouldn't open my mouth, huh? Like, they evened it up! And then someone dies. But yeah, he should have no problem dealing with this IS-3 here. The Object 274 has really good pin on his rounds. It's one of my favorite tanks, honestly. And it has really good armor as well, so this is a good matchup, 2 on 3. 2 of them being one-shots. Oh, there goes one. 3,600 damage. Oh, they finally caught this 274. But he should have no problem dealing with the IS-3. T-34 in the building. He should be fine though, because there's one gap right there. But as long as he plays smart, he should be okay. In fact, he probably could have gone through the window back there. Oh, bounced shot, nicely done. Boom. He can take 1 more or 2 more rounds from the IS-3. So yeah, he's got to rush this guy. Oh, nice ram kill. Got to get turned. Oh, unlucky for the IS-3. Of course, he got unlucky because he's auto-aiming. I do not condone auto-aiming at this. Here, yeah, there you go. Nice, very nicely done. So 4450. Maybe you got some damage from that blind fire. 3,000 damage, or 3,400 damage blocked, and 5 kills. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the end game stats. Alright, so 4849, so almost 5,000 damage, almost 3,500 blocked, high caliber, steel wall, and ace tanker, and of course shellproof, because yeah, if you block more than your health, you get shellproof. But yeah, that is a pretty good kind of example of how to play this tank. You've got to use angles of your armor. Don't be aiming directly at an enemy if you aren't ready to fire. You have to angle your turret so it bounces off the side. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Look forward to the next tank review. If there's a specific tank you wish to see next, just leave that in the comments of the most current Tech Tree tank review video, and I will get to it. I usually release about or record 3 at a time, so it could be a few before it shows up, but I'll get to it as soon as I can. This is Samaritan Gaming, and I'll see you on the battlefield.